We're so grateful for Temple Beth Shalom for hosting us here today. We have this wonderful opportunity for an intimate dialogue with Nataly, so we'd love to know if any of you have any thoughts, questions, anything that came up for you while Nataly was doing this piece. State your name.
Louis Grossman. I loved it. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Why did you pick this segment out of an hour and 15 minutes to present today?
I think it's the beginning of the show, and it really kind of put a context to what I'm talking about, because the rest of the show is it's not necessarily directed to talk about disability, but it talks about emotional and physical scars. And it's I can tell you in like short version of what happened later on. It's like there's 3 different parts of the show. So the first one is about my disability. My dad is on stage with me. He reads a story, a bedtime story. And then the second part talks about a song that talks about a poem about a guy who assembles parts of different women to make his perfect ideal wife. And in the third part, I go on a date with a person from the audience, because when I made the show, I was single, and I felt that part of the reason I don't have a partner is because men couldn't handle my disability. But it's got a very good ending, because my partner, which is just over there, I met him during the show. He lifted his hand and said, "I want to go on a date with you," and since then we're together. So, you know, life. But I think it's, it gives the context to what I'm talking about, and that's why I decided to choose it.
Yeah.
Your emotional disability improved more than your physical disability?
I think, that emotional scars we all have. I don't know anyone who doesn't have it. So it's part of who I am, it's part of who everyone is. It's not even, I don't look at it as disability, I just look at it as a state that everyone is in. So.
Hi, I'm Jody. I have 2 questions. Oh, thank you. Hi, I'm Jody.
Hi, Jody.
It was wonderful. Thank you very much. I have 2 questions. One is, are you doing the full show while you're in Boston?
No, unfortunately not.
Why? Darn. Okay, I'll talk to you later about that. Getting you back here. The second is, how do you feel with Hollywood and Bollywood and Israeli film not casting actors with disabilities in roles? The Shape of Water was hugely talked about within the deaf community. We see it over and over and over again, and I know there's the issue of training, that people with disabilities don't have a chance to be trained in the arts like you shared. But how do you feel as a performer and as an actor? And actors act, so...
it's really hard to... I wish I had that ability to change the world and make it a better place. The only thing I can is to share my story with people, and maybe things will start kind of changing. I think also it's about people understanding what it means to have a disability. And I think it starts even much before, acting schools. It needs to start when you're very young. And at least in Israel, and a guy kind of told me good stories about the education system here, which is different, but in Israel, the strong ones are in the stronger classes, and the weaker ones are in the weakest classes. And as long as that will continue, there will no change. I don't think there will. And I think there is a few schools now in Israel that starts to have this policy of inclusion in all their classes. But there are about six schools like that in Israel, which is, even in my school where I teach, it's not suited for disabled people. So I have to ask all the time to teach on the lower grades. People in wheelchair won't be able to teach or study in my school. So, revolution needs to start from like an early age. Hollywood is further down the line for me. Thank you.
just to share, I was grateful to go to a conference that the Ruderman Family Foundation put on about inclusion, and they shared a staggering statistic, which is that 20% of Americans have a disability, but the staggering statistic is that more than 2/3 of people with disability who have a college education are unemployed, which is
And similar statistic also in Israel.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, questions, reactions?
I love the statement that we are all on the spectrum of disability. I just loved it. I'm taking it home.
Okay.
You're
Yeah.
amazing. You're very brave.
Oh, thank you very
open,
much.
And really touched my heart.
Thank
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We do have one.
I think one of the signs, or some of the signs of yours, said you don't look disabled or something. So how do you respond to that? Because in fact, it is an invisible disability most of the time, right?
Yeah, I was just telling Guy earlier. In Israel, because in the small scene of the Fringe Theatre, I'm quite well known now, since people know about my disability. And I went to see a show, and the guy who worked there knows me, so he came to me and said, "Do you want to take the lift?" Like quietly. And I was like, oh my God, he knows about my disability. And I was like, I didn't know how to handle it. Because on one hand, I really want everyone to know, and everyone should help me. But I think because I heard so many times, be aside, your disability is not, you shouldn't be in the center, your body isn't the right way it should be, then, if it's guilt or if it's, you don't like, it takes time to learn to love yourself and be okay with whatever people say to you. So sometimes I love when people notice my disability and sometimes I hate it. And I hope, in a few years I'll be able to come and do another session of conversations and kind of say, I figured it out and I'm loving it now completely. But it's an ongoing conversation with myself, and I'm sure most people feel like that. Yes, please.
I have a loud voice too. Watching you was incredible. It was incredible to hear what you had to say as well as what you were doing. But I kept thinking, I'm a person who tries to be helpful, and my tendency is to ask somebody who I can see is physically struggling, may I help you? Do you want me to reach that for you? And I'm now feeling that that's a terrible thing to do.
Oh no!
No, so that's why I had to ask you the question. I was going to nuzzle up to you later on quietly, but I try to help people. I work in a hospital. I see disabled people all the time, and people are rushing around and going to get their lunch, and I never know. I usually say, "Would you like some help? May I help you?"
I think that's the best way.
Okay.
What I like about actually the question is not assuming what kind of help they need. It's actually just ask if they need it. I also have the same thing. There was this guy, he's blind, and I was like living at Tel Aviv University, and this guy came to me and said, "I'm blind, would you mind helping me?" And because I wanted to help him so much, I just made him lost. Because he was trying to tell me what he needs, and I wasn't that paying attention because I thought I knew what he needed. And I think it's really that. It's that kind of, you can't make everyone happy. Maybe some disabled people wouldn't like it. But I think asking if you need help and how do you need that help, that's perfect. Because that's not assuming anything about it, that's just seeing that they need help, and I think that's amazing.
I can sleep well tonight.
You can keep being helpful, Ken.
Nataly, thank you so much. It was really wonderful. Having had hip replacement surgery, I was actually identifying with you, and part of your, it was prior, and actually in the process of healing, I could identify. But picking up on what Patty said, when you showed the various signs, to me, they were value judgments. And it wasn't clear to me how you were interpreting them for our interpretation. Can you speak to that?
I think what I'm trying to do there when I'm showing the signs is about, maybe I should share something that this guy said to me, that when he saw the signs, he said to me, it's exactly what I felt. You were always one step ahead of me. I wanted to say, oh, you don't look disabled, and then the sign came up. Oh, I wanted to say, oh, I didn't notice it because I know you so long, and then the sign came up. And he said to me, and I realized, at the beginning I was mad at you for doing it, and then I realized it's between me and myself. And I'm okay, because when I do and all the rest of the show, it's kind of like, it's okay. It's okay to say it, and it's okay to think it, but then I will get annoyed also, and that's also okay. And a lot of time I get criticized for not being so direct about what I want to say. But actually, I don't have a direct answer to answer you. Sometimes I like it when people say that I'm amazing. And sometimes I hate it because I'm amazing because of my injury, come on, you know? And sometimes I love it. And sometimes, yeah, you're right, and sometimes I'm actually using it on dates, you know, I overcame so much. You should admire me. So I wish I had like the right answer, and I want people to feel uncomfortable. I know it makes most people, when they make shows, they don't want people to feel uncomfortable, but I quite want that because I think it makes you feel uncomfortable.
I think you achieved that.
So, I was looking at your signs, and I know your whole thing is about inclusion, and, for people with low vision, it's really hard to see those signs, so I had to, can you tell me what that one says?
First of all, I saw it, and I was
sorry.
waiting. No, sorry, and I was waiting until she read it to you, and that's fine.
I thought that.
I have also, I don't see well, I don't hear well, so I'm with you.
Okay.
In some of the performances that we know in advance, we do, people read the sign. There's a person that reads the sign. Also the show sometimes with sign language. So it really depends on, we're trying to kind of know who the people are coming and what kind of disabilities we have, and we're really trying to engage in that. There was one show that this guy, because in Israel I'm outside welcoming the guests. And I could see this guy, and he was blind, and he came alone. And I was like, how is he going to enjoy the show? Because I didn't know he's coming. And he asked this girl, there were many kids at that time, they were teenagers, they were about 16. And all of a sudden I realized the 16-year-old girl just walked through him the whole show. She told him all the time what's going on. And that was amazing. And he wrote on Facebook later on, I didn't know him, and then I realized he wrote on Facebook saying that was an amazing experience, that this girl, was talking to him and kind of telling him and going through the show. So, but it's difficult to find a way to include everyone. And I said it before, and I said when I was talking about my own inclusion, changing the rules of the games, you have to be creative, really creative. It's not an easy solution. It's not like, oh, let's change it. Yeah, it will work. It takes time, and you have to be very creative and be very, seeing the world around you, really look at people. Something that we don't do a lot. Yes, please.
It seems like you've performed this many times. Do you ever get bored when you're on stage?
I think I'm not getting bored of it. It's more about, because I told my story so many times on the everyday, then sometimes it's like, I don't want to tell that story ever again. But it's not just on stage, it's also in real life. And sometimes when people ask me what happened to you, I'm like, in 1990 when I was 12, I had an accident in the Scout, or like, oh, come to see my show. It's on the 5th, it's like, because I realized when I made the show that I've got those monologues in real life, and I'm sure you all have those monologues that you're repeating in your head when you have to tell the same story over and over again. Everyone's got that. So sometimes I'm bored of it, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, let's go for it. Yes, please.
You have a very important message to deliver. Can anyone else deliver that message other than you?
I think so. Many disabled people around the world. That's what I feel. And when I meet, we've got a community, small community of disabled artists in Israel, very small. And we talk about it a lot, about, and we all share the same stories, even if it's different disabilities. We all share the same stories.
Nataly, thank you so very much for being here. Those that I haven't met, my name is Rabbi Jay Perlman here at Beth Shalom. I'm struck by the fact that you shared so beautifully in front of our Torah scrolls. And as you may be aware, many of you may be aware, that there's a rabbinic teaching that says that in our lifetimes, each of us is supposed to write our own Torah scroll. We're supposed to write an entire text. And the rabbis interpret that actually quite poetically, in terms of saying that not necessarily that you actually have to be one who pens an entire scroll, but one is supposed to live one's life in such a way that it becomes a Torah. And you shared
Thank you for
your
doing that.
Torah. It's not just your story, but your Torah. A very special thank you to the Israeli Stage, Guy Ben Aaron, and to all of the leadership of the Israeli Stage, and to all of you for being here today. Please come again and join us. Thank you. Guy, looks like you want to talk.
I'm usually here. I'll just talk loudly. I've trained at Emerson, so they tell us to sing out, Louise. I just want to thank Jay and Sarah from Temple Beth Shalom for hosting us here. It's actually our 5th collaboration with Temple Beth Shalom and Israeli Stage, and also a few of our shared leadership that's here with Louis and Patty Grossman and Susie and Herb Tobin, who are here. This is their congregation, and thanks to them, this feels like a congregation that's our home as well. Just to expand on one, you asked about exclusion and inclusion within this performance. This collaboration with Nataly, her visit here, has actually presented some incredible collaboration opportunities. And coming up, we're going to be doing a performance of The Other Body and Artability at the Henderson Inclusion School, which is a Boston public school that was started by Bill Henderson. And for the very first time at Israeli Stage for us, we're doing a performance with American Sign Language, as well as audio sensory guides for those who are visually impaired. And there'll be 300 students there, so that'll be an incredible opportunity. If you enjoyed your time with Nataly today at Israeli Stage, we have an upcoming performance of a brand new piece called The Othering Project, a performance piece that explores othering through Nataly's lens and through the lens of a French, Djiboutin, American actor, Nail Nasser, who's a local actor that we'll be doing at Bunker Hill Community College, and it's going to be free and open to the public. If you have questions about Israeli Stage, we have quite a few family members here tonight. I'll just ask you to raise your hand as I say your name. Laura Fisher and Bruce Lynn and Herb and Susie Tobin and Louis and Patty Grossman and Jeff Kubatowitz, who are here and have known the company and are on the board of the company. So if you'd like to learn a little more, they're here to tell you about it. So thank you all so much for being here and for engaging with Nataly's work.
Thank you very much.